blogs, writing, content for Elk. Who's behind it? Well, we've got Greg, username at Fox42, here joining us. So stay tuned to find out some insider information. All right, well, thanks, Greg, for joining us. I really appreciate having you here. Thanks for taking the time.
Always a pleasure, Snake. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, want to get started with the first question. What do you do at Elk Finance? What's your role?
It's a dangerous question. I do as much as I possibly can. No, I am the head of content, and I do a whole range of copy editing and tweet copy, honing and refining internal documentation, external documentation. But alongside that, I have a definite interest in the business development side and just the overall marketing strategy as well. I also have a certain interest in certain economic elements of the protocol and the way in which we can, make it, the strongest interoperability project that we possibly that it can possibly be.
Absolutely, yeah. Making things work together, that interoperability is important. So, and you do a great deal, like you said, of our writing, and a lot of that is amazing. Like you work on those lodge letters, which are kind of weekly updates through our media.
So we try to keep those coming in as regularly as possible. Now, it tends to be more a kind of state of the nation, just to make sure that everyone knows that we're still here, that we're still building things. Sometimes there are some sneaky announcements in there. Sometimes there's a little bit more detail about things that we've already discussed. Sometimes they're just an analysis of what's going on in the wider world. I've thrown some poetry in there before. I think on Shakespeare's birthday, I did a section in iambic pentameter just because I'm a bit of a geek. I'm not going to read that to you. I don't think I'd ever want to read it again. It's really hard. The guy wrote well.
Yeah, that was awesome. I couldn't believe that. It's such talent. I'm like, why is this flowing so well?
It was a little forced at times, but we can have some fun with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Going back to the other thing that you said, when we're here in a startup, which is kind of what the whole of DeFi is really, and especially interoperability. Only a few years ago there were very few chains in existence at all, and now there's dozens, hundreds maybe popping up, and we're trying to link them all together. It tends to be that we need to be all hands to the pumps really. So I know that you've spent a bit of time occasionally throwing out some information via Twitter. We sometimes jump into the Telegram, the community chats. We're obviously discussion towards the direction and the strategy of the business and marketing side. I tend to bump into you quite a lot, actually. Then we're quite a small team, and we have to stay agile whilst we're building it out.
No, for sure.
Much as I'd love to be involved in the design side of things, that's probably where I draw the line, because my drawing skills are not quite up there. I know what I like, but I'll leave that to the pros.
So tell me a little bit about the EIP. So first, what does an EIP stand for? And some details about the EIP coming for Elk Finance. What does that look like?
Okay, so as a team and as part of the community, we obviously get a lot of ideas thrown towards us, be it via the social channels, be it through internal communications, be it through even discussions with our partners about, have you seen what these guys are doing, or have you considered X, and what about Y? And we kind of gather them all together, and as the person with the words, I tend to compile them into a bit of a tome to start with. It was a real kind of analysis of what we've currently got and how the economics, or tokenomics as they're popularly called, are looking in Elk. Now, the EIP is an Elk Improvement program or plan, and so we've, as a team, gathered together a whole series of ideas for EIP 1. it's imaginative, I know, but it kind of is the first one. That's been really kind of it's a collaboration between so many different stakeholders from the community. Their ideas are definitely in there, and then from the team members together thrashing it out, sometimes in chats like this, sometimes just via Telegram at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I compiled it all, and then we shared it. You were part of the process, and then we tore it apart and then we rebuilt it, and it's not really been discussed yet. I was going to sneak it into a lodge letter this week, but depending on when this goes out, it might be that this could be the first reveal, because we will be having a look at adjusting some of the economics behind the Elk token.
For sure.
And that's going to be looking towards where the fees are going and what they use to fund. It's going to maybe look at maybe some destruction, maybe there'll be a burn element to it. How we're going to look at encouraging our community to bring more users to us, so mobilize our community, weaponize them as referees, and also looking again at the liquidity that we're trying to support for the end user bridge. We obviously have the native token, we have some stables in there, and we have partner tokens, and they were quite broad, and so we're looking to maybe focus it in a little bit more, and during a bear market seems like a good time to try that. So some details will be coming forthwith. I'm not going to give anything too specific away as
for
yet.
Sure. So long term, like a lot of the great ideas we've had and you've had, and as a team, that will help kind of make Elk a little bit more sustainable. So I'm excited for that, which is just great. So moving on to the last question here, what makes you, as they say, bullish on Elk? What makes you excited about being a part of Elk Finance and even just as a user?
Okay, so I've come from a background in teaching, actually, nothing to do with teaching blockchain, but the idea of education and allowing people to understand is my background. Coupled with that was my entrance into DeFi through lending and Web3 protocols. And as I spent more time around different protocols and exploring yield farming and other speculative activities, I spotted, as everyone spotted, the advent of BNB chain and Hiko and Cosmos. So many different chains sprung up, and initially they were reasonably siloed. The only way you could access them was through centralized exchanges. Right. And whilst I had access to a centralized exchange and I could move them around, it was just a painful experience. You have to go through so many different email codes here and checks and balances and
verify your identity,
the slippages and the extra little fee here and there, and it was just very clunky. And it kind of highlighted to me how I want to exist on chain, but then as soon as I wanted to go and explore what's going on elsewhere, sometimes purely speculatively, sometimes just educationally, I was just intrigued by new protocols and seeing what's going on in the space. And so I kind of had a little sniff around, and I met Fiat's Judas through one of the other communities, and he said, "You got to check out Elk. It's a bridge." And I said, "Okay, yeah, I've heard of bridges. I've used a couple. What's so good about this one?" He says, "Just come along, read the docs." We chatted a bit, and it's just so necessary. We've got all these different chains, and for them to all coexist, and for the Web3, which is really a great deal of my passion lies, is the idea of a new and improved and safer and owned by us internet. In order to be able to communicate with all these different opportunities, it doesn't matter if it's NFTs or tickets on NFTs or movies or email or all these different things that are going to be digital assets of some type. We're already seeing it coming around.
Mhm.
They are going to exist where they make sense to exist. So if I'm going to be doing a payment transaction, I'm going to be using a blockchain that is optimized for high throughput. So we've got, the decentralized Amazon of the future is going to need to process a lot of transactions really fast. So they're going to have a chain optimized for that. And it would make sense for them to have that particular strength. But that chain might not be as suitable for a logistics company who need to be doing different things on chain. And I can't pick up the ideas off the top of my head, but there are going to be different parameters that different industries require from blockchain. And we've only just started to see the beginning of it. Now, if all of these different options are going to be there, there's not going to be one chain. I'm absolutely convinced that. There's not going to be 1,000 chains, or maybe there are, but I doubt it very much. But they're going to need to talk to each other, because otherwise the whole thing's useless. In the same way that we've got the internet connecting us all together, in order for us to connect all these ecosystems together, there have to be bridges.
Right.
And it's not just about sending assets, it's about sending data packets. And then having spoken to Ball and the rest of the team over it's over a year now.
Yeah.
I've learned more and more about where it's heading, and the security aspect. Always nice to have never been hacked. Thanks for that, Elk.
Yeah.
And the strength that it provides to the partners who utilize our infrastructure.
All that together, it being the future, and collaborating with partners and DeFi and all of that, I totally get. Like, that's why I'm on board too. So no, that's awesome. Thanks for that, Greg. Let's say
my rambling succinctness has lost to me once again.
It's all good. So if people wanted to check out your lodge letters and check out some of the content for Elk, where would they go?
Well, you're going to go to the Elk Medium. So, I'm going to send everyone, my colleagues over on the DApp side will and on the website side will kill me if I don't ask them to. You have to go to elk.finance, and from there you'll find links to our Medium site. Sure, you can search for it on Medium as well, but you can also follow us on Twitter, elk_finance, and they also have all the links and the updates that we send out. And you can also ask questions, and you can retweet stuff. Please do share it far and wide. We want to make sure that everyone can bridge to everywhere that Elk is, and Elk will be everywhere.
Perfect. I would shake your hand, but since you're through a screen, that probably wouldn't work out so well. But I really appreciate you, joining us, and I'll see you again on the panel.
All right. Take care.